The prayer this morning will be offered by the good delegate representing Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we stand before you this morning first and foremost thanking you for your abundant blessings, your grace, and your mercy. Today, as we reflect on this last day of our formal Black History Month celebration, we thank you for the many individuals who have faithfully contributed to the end of discrimination, divisive behaviors, and mindsets that have resulted in undue harm, disregard, and death for many. We further acknowledge the many races and cultures who have and continue to be discriminated against as a result of false narratives of superiority. Today we pray that in this very room, we sincerely endeavor to achieve the wisdom, understanding, and courage to treat all humankind in the manner you established in the beginning of time. We are indeed each fearfully and wonderfully made, in your image and in your likeness. We have each been given authority of dominion over the earth and not each other. We pray you would impress upon both our hearts and our handiwork the obligation to work more intentionally and more faithfully toward achieving liberty and justice for all, through mutual respect, reverence, and a sincere willingness to eradicate the self-righteous, self-serving barriers that cause separation and intended consequences of segregation. Finally, we pray, as we legislate for the good of all Marylanders, that we do so in a manner that demonstrates positive regard for one another and serves as a role model for other states and for this country. This we ask in your great name. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 24th, 2024.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered. Petitions, memorials, and other papers. Recognizing the Chair of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, for more than a quarter of a century, NEA's Read Across America has raised awareness about the importance, value, and fun of reading. With an estimated 45 million people participating, Read Across America is the biggest reading celebration in the country. Every student in America, no matter who they are or where they live, deserves a great public education that inspires them to the love of reading and prepares them for success in our diverse and independent world. The joy of reading is crucial for building a nation of diverse readers. Educators and parents know that magical moment when a student connects with a book. America's educators and authors are creating a nation of diverse readers, and we celebrate the parents and community members who stand with teachers and staff to ensure diverse, age-appropriate books are available to all public school students as they prepare for their future. Joining us this morning on either side of Big Bird is MSEA's President Cheryl Bost and the Vice President of MSEA, Teresa Dudley.
Will the reading clerk please read the resolution in full?
Be it hereby known to all that the House of Delegates of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Maryland State Education Association in recognition of Read Across America Day, celebrating a nation of diverse readers and the 26th year of the Read Across America program. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion. and directs this resolution to be presented on this 29th day of February 2024.
Introduction of House bills. The clerk will read the bills and their committee assignments.
House Bill 1515, Delegate Moon. House Rules by order Sylvia Signature, Chief Clerk.
The clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignments.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 51. Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 52. Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 53. February the 25th, 2024. Refer to appropriations.
Message from the Senate. Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the bills and committee assignment.
Senate Bill 864, Senator King. Appropriations by order Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
Will the gentleman from Prince George's please stand and introduce the mayor as our guest?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your patience. Colleagues, today is a wonderful day. We're joined by representatives of over 160 governments across the state, representing over 2 million individuals. Please stand and represent and welcome in the mayors and council members representing MML from across the state of Maryland. As a former council member myself, I know that they'll be going around looking to speak with you about highway user revenue. So please go easy on them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 139 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar of third reading, House bills number 20.
House Bill 103, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Dental Services, Coverage and Rate Study.
House Bill 103 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 103, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 127, Public Health, Non-Occupational Post-Exposure Prophylaxis Standing Order Program Establishment.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 127, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 146, Health Occupations Boards, Reciprocal Licensure and Certification.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 146, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 152, Department of the Environment, Study on Death Care and Funeral Practices.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could I ask the floor leader some questions on this bill?
Over here.
Floor leader.
Hey, could you tell me what the bill does?
The bill allows for a study of different funeral practices.
All right, so last year, it was introduced last year, correct?
Yes.
And last year, it had a $600,000 fiscal note. I understand it's the same bill. This year, the fiscal note is only $100,000. What's changed to reduce it by $500,000?
Let me find out that for you. Hold on. It's under here. Let me call a friend real quick. What? Well, yeah, that's what he said. Fiscal note. What was the difference from last year? Oh, it's the same as last year. The fiscal note was miscalculated, so it should be less than 100,000.
So it was miscalculated last year, and it's correct this year?
Oh, being told last year's bill was 100,000. It wasn't 600,000.
No, last year it was $600,000. This year it's $100,000.
Might have some discrepancies. I haven't looked at last year's bill.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 152, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 208, County Public Libraries, Minors, Children, and Teens, Prohibited Practices.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 110 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 208, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 215, Human Services, Attendant Care Program, Ongoing Additional Supports.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 215, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 379, Wildlife, Traveling Animal Acts, Prohibition.
Is on third reading and final passage.
Madam Speaker.
Is there any debate? Gentleman from Cecil.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just had a question on the bill, if it's okay for the floor leader.
Floor
And,
leader.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
And I ask that you give me some grace here. I have a zoo in my district, and they just had some questions. There are a lot of acronyms here, so I'll try to articulate it in the best way possible.
Appreciate that.
So there was a concern that the bill language asked for an exemption for the AZA. Is that an accurate statement?
AZA? Yes, that is accurate.
Okay. And the question is, there should only be an exemption for USDA license holders, and that the AZA is a trade organization associated with HSUS. Is that accurate?
It doesn't cover that? No.
Does not cover that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Just for my education, could you explain what the exemption to the AZA is what that is and why it's necessary? And again, coming from my zoo.
Okay. It was not drafted.
Madam Speaker.
Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We don't believe there is that exemption in the bill, so I know there might have been a
That's what I
minor
was looking for.
miscommunication there, but that exemption is not in the bill.
Okay, thank you so much. No further questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Minority Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the gentleman please mind answering a few more questions?
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So I too have a zoo or a facility in my district, and the question that I have is, under current law, as I understand, there's an exemption for a circus that holds a Class C license, where I guess that would currently permit them, let's just use a traveling circus with elephants, for example, to, I guess, go around the state, have performances. So this bill changes that dramatically, does it not?
Correct.
Okay, so
Correct. The holder of a Class C license may not possess non-human primate, bear, lion, tiger, leopard, clouded leopard, snow leopard, jaguar, cheetah, cougar, hybrid of any of those animals, or an elephant.
okay. So I guess for the non-technical folks, this bill, should it pass, it likely will pass, there's no longer allowed to be a circus going around the state unless there's a permanent facility that has elephants at it, for example.
That is correct.
Okay.
A circus with traveling animal acts, that is what we're prohibiting. A Cirque du Soleil, something that does not have traveling animal acts of these types, can still travel.
Yeah, so I guess just in basic form, unless you have a permanent facility in Maryland that happens to have elephants at it, you are no longer, if this passes, permitted to move elephants to other parts of the state for like a circus.
Correct, for entertainment purposes, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also have a question on this. So, again, we have a zoo. They do a lot of traveling, oftentimes for educational purposes. And so if you're reading the bill and the bill language, I don't see an exclusion for educational. And sometimes you use natural behaviors and you incentivize natural behaviors that could be like, a trick or something along those lines, but it's really just showing the natural behavior and showing. So is there any exclusion for my zoo in my district to be able to take their animals, like their lemurs or their spider monkeys or anything like that? I mean, I don't think they're going to take their leopards but I mean, who knows?
Right. No, I appreciate the question. There is no exemption for these in particular animals, and lemurs would be covered under the non-human primate section. So this would prohibit the traveling, the movement of lemurs, even for educational purposes.
Right. So do you know if that would affect some of their ability that they have done that? Do you know what impact that will have on our local zoos as far as for educational purposes?
No, I do not have that in front of me. I do know a lot of the concern with the purpose of the bill is for the animals' own welfare, because again, the larger cats, the elephants, we know they don't travel well.
Right.
And then when it comes to the non-human primates and the smaller animals like lemurs, I know a lot of the concerns are about safety for humans as well. I know monkeys and lemurs are known to be they're strong, they're aggressive, they can bite. And unfortunately, right now, there is no simian or pro-simian rabies vaccine. So any lemur that bites a human, even in an educational setting, will probably have to be put down. So that's part of the concern as well.
And I understand, and usually they're with zoo staff, trained zoo staff. Usually it's
Right,
in a
of course.
controlled environment and things like that. So yeah, I'm going to be no on this, just like I said, for the educational purposes. But thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 105 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 379, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading. House Bills number 21. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 234, Department of Agriculture, Licensing, Registration, Fees and Penalties and Regulation.
is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader rise for a quick question? Good morning. Is this a fee
Vice Chair of the
increase?
committee.
Can you be more specific?
What fees does this increase?
So, as mentioned before, when we talk about the apiaries, you're required to register, for instance, your bee colonies. When you don't, and if you've been found that you haven't, you will be assessed a $25 fee. What has been repealed is regulations allowing the department to set the fees under weights and measurements.
So it's creating and increasing a fee on people who raise bees, and it's turning over the authority to regulate fees to the Department of Agriculture, so they can raise them however much they want.
Well, the fee structure has to go through a process, so they just can't arbitrarily raise them. They can raise them, but it goes through a process to be approved for those fees.
By ALER?
That is correct.
Where there's a number of fee
Yes.
increases. All right, I see this as a fee increase. I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just real quickly on this bill, it seems like we're raising fees on the rural areas again. We saw this a few years ago, the attack on rural Maryland. I don't have any questions, but thank you.
But you've made a statement, so I want to be,
I know,
can you
but
be
I
more
have the-
specific about?
Let
Madam
him
Speaker,
finish.
you
Go ahead and
recognize
finish.
me, and that's not appropriate. It's not according to the rules.
Gentlemen, say what you have to say.
Thank you. A few years ago, during the O'Malley administration, there was an attack on rural Maryland, and that's happening again. We see all these fee increases, which is the same thing as a tax increase, and they are levied on the people of rural Maryland. Beekeepers, people who have horses, people who have animals, people who have agricultural farms. It seems pretty clear to me what's happening, and it is wrong. It is wrong. And it needs to be made clear. A fee is a tax. Thank you.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and I do apologize. I did not mean to cut off the delegate, but I was hoping he could speak to more specifics about fees in general. I want to make it clear we are in an unfortunate situation this year where everybody's looking for money, respectfully, to departments. Most of these fees that we are talking about have not been increased or even reviewed for the last 20, 30, 40, and 50 years. Now, should the departments have been looking at this maybe every 10 years, every 15 years? I agree, but we are in a situation where, for instance, in weights and measures, that there's one or two people having to inspect gas stations for quantity or quality, and they can't do that because they've been using the same fees for the last 20 and 30 and 40 years to maintain this department. And so that math doesn't add up. If we want quality services, we have to look at how we are funding these particular, for instance, inspectors. And so what they have done, and what they have done in 3 different areas in here, especially for the horses and nutrient management, is that in a lot of cases, a lot of individuals do not either renew or provide reports in a timely manner. And in some of these cases in the bill is that the department is trying to use essentially a fee to say, hey, I need you to get these, for instance, when we talk about the horses, we need you to renew in an appropriate time. For soil management reports, we need you to send it in at an appropriate time. In most cases, they have stated that this is more or less getting people to get their licenses renewed or get their reports in, but they're not really going to be using it to actually ding someone financially. For instance, for soil management reports, every time someone doesn't turn in their report, that's a report that the Department of Ag cannot submit themselves on behalf of Maryland. And so some of these fees do have to be increased because there is a need to do better services. And for other ones, it's just a way to ask and get folks to for instance, relicense appropriately and or get in reports, but they don't plan to actually use, in some cases, the fees that will be determined through AELR to essentially harm individuals. Thank you so much.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 234, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 336, Maryland Achieving a Better Life Experience, ABLE Program, Materials for Individual Education Program, Individualized Family Service Plans, and 504 Plan Meetings.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 336, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 380, State Emergency Medical Services Board, Licenses and Certificates, Application Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 380, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 408, Mental Health Law, County Mental Health Advisory Committees, membership.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 408, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 437, Maryland Zero Emission Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Council, membership.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 437, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 497, Hunting, Non-Resident Sika Deer Stamp, Fee Alteration.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? The minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd just like to confirm, if the floor leader could confirm what we did in the amendments, whoever that may be. There, thank you, my friend. The bill as it came in, I happen to know the bill sponsor pretty well. I can't imagine he would propose a fee increase unnecessarily. So the bill as it came in, as I read it, the fee increased from $25, which it seems to have been for quite a long time, to $100. Did the committee change that from the bill sponsor's original bill and actually increase the fee even beyond the $100?
Yes.
What did you increase it to?
We followed the Senate amendment to keep the bill in sync and increased it to $200 for non-residents only.
Right. And I do appreciate the non-resident. Everyone should understand that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. But so what this actually amounts to then is an 8 times increase of the fee. So we were going from 25 to 100, which maybe that made some rationality, but now we've decided to go to 200. And I appreciate the comments from my friend from Baltimore City about the necessity for perhaps some fee increases. Fee increases should be only legitimately tied to an actual fiscal analysis of what it takes to maintain the program. And if you look at the particulars, I'm not sure that I could identify the difference between a Sika deer and a large dog. I'm not sure. I've never hunted Sika deer in my life. But what I can tell you is that I would suggest that the amount of money being generated by this fee increase and doubling the amount of the intended fee increase probably likely exceeds the real costs that would be necessary to maintain the program and DNR's wildlife and heritage areas operations. If you also take a look at the fiscal note, we have a trebling effect from this. That's good, I guess. But when you raise the fees, you also get $3 from the federal government for every dollar, allegedly, that we bring in. So you're talking about now increasing the size, the cost, the fees by a very significant factor. And while I'd love to support the bill out of friendship to the hunting community and also to the gentleman from Cecil County, but I think that this particular fee increase, as amended by the committee, goes too far. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I appreciate the gentleman's comments, but the people who hunt, I assure you, know the difference with a Sika deer. They are a very unique experience. They are native to Japan, and we are the only place with a large herd of Sika deer in the United States, so people come from all over the country to hunt these deer. I also note that the funds that come from this fee are matched 3-to-1 by the Pittman-Robinson Act, so we get a large amount of federal funds from this, which goes towards conservation as well as hunter education. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And on the bill, myself and my colleague next to me represent Dorchester County, along with my colleague behind me. Of course, thank you. We in Dorchester County are the center of the Sika deer population, and the floor leader's right. This is a non-native species. This is not the white-tailed deer. A couple of elements to understand about the Sika deer is that they're nocturnal. They come out at night and they lay down during the day, which means it's a hard, difficult hunt. And for the sportsmen out there, the cost of this fee is frankly irrelevant, because I think that there is a challenge to hunting Sika deer, and I think that the committee, through this fee increase, perhaps is taking advantage of the demand for the sportsman community, who would pay maybe even double what you're asking for the fee and the privilege to hunt these. However, we represent farmers in the community that have this same Sika deer problem, where they come out at night and they chew up acres upon acres of field, soybeans, corn, whatever it is, and it is a major issue for Environment and Transportation's committee. Every year we come in with bills trying to relax these hunting restrictions to allow more hunting. At the same time, on the Eastern Shore, the historic sort of family generational hunting traditions seem to be diminishing somewhat. I'm not going to say they're going away, but the point is there are fewer and fewer hunters out there. And so the farmers are left with a significant problem, which is, how do we as the farming community get held harmless when we have a deer population that's not being managed? And so on the bill, Madam Speaker, what I'm saying is that the Sika deer population absolutely is a problem for the farmers in Dorchester County, and frankly increasingly, because that population is growing, it's expanding. And when I see a bill like this, for which I have to oppose, I oppose it on the principle that at some point the committee needs to understand that there is the other side of the sportsman community, which is our livelihood, which is how we make a living on the Eastern Shore, and it is agriculture and poultry. And the testimony you would hear from the farmers in my district would say that this bill fights strongly against the things that we need to happen most, which is to broadly expand the hunting, especially of these deer that are very hard to manage, to be blunt. So with that, Madam Speaker, I vote against the bill.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the gentleman from the Dorchester County. I appreciate that. And I do understand the difficulties of the deer and the damage they're causing to agriculture. I did participate in a work group this summer that really looked at how we can address the deer damage. However, I would point out that for residents, the fee is still $10. And so for Maryland residents, they can still hunt this Sika deer. There are also deer management permits, as I'm sure the gentleman knows, where hunters can use that to address the deer. And the committee believes that there is demand for these for people traveling, people who pay thousands of dollars, not only for the permits to hunt, but to travel and places to stay and everything. So there is demand for this, and the committee did not believe that this would reduce hunting of the Sika deer. I will also point out that the Maryland grain producers came in favorable with amendments. They requested the fee to be increased to $250, and grain producers are, of course, farmers. So thank you.
Real quick.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, we've had a lot of talk on fees this morning, and it strikes me that I don't believe that this state has ever really had a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. We have an $83 billion budget, and now we're looking at another fee. We're the 5th highest migrated out state in the country, and they go to our neighboring states. We're in the top 10 worst states in the country business-wise. So what do we do with these kind of fees? We say, well, you were smart enough to get out, but we're going to kick you in the butt for leaving, and we're going to charge you more to come back here and hunt a deer that we need gone. All of these fees, when are we going to look around and say, we're running out? Precious Marylanders, the ones that pay the bills, the producers, the business owners. We're pushing them out. We're going to have budget problems in this state year after year after year until we change the environment and stop feeding people to death, stop feeding businesses to death, and pushing them out of a great state with beautiful natural resources. And all we can do is continue to push people out with bills that just charge fees to everybody that even comes near the state. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I won't go to the matter with this, and the floor leader, I appreciate your points and certainly understand the nature of the bill. The only thing I would say to you is that if you have a farmer who's getting real economic damages, one wonders whether some of these fees may not be better aligned with helping the farmers financially be compensated for the damage. Let me just say to you that I think most of the farmers are upset, not necessarily over the population of the Sika deer and what their land is worth when you have people that come in and lease property to hunt, but it's rather the economic damage. And at some point, I think the legislature may be well advised to consider the farming community and what these costs are, and to, if we're not going to take policies that broadly expand hunting and allow us to manage the population under DNR, to at least consider compensating these farmers for this real economic damage. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have hunted Alaska, North Carolina, Ontario, Canada, and I took a very, very big Sika deer off the Eastern Shore. The fact of the matter is that $200 is out of line with neighboring states, and I know Sika deer is, sort of only in this region. They like the Eastern Shore because it's, wet over there, but you can also hunt them down south. So I feel like it would drive people down south. The fact of the matter is that you can hunt deer in all of the neighboring states, and the out-of-state permit is $100. I think $200 is just too much, and there is the crop damage issue. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay, that was a lot, everybody. I'm having trouble keeping track of all of the arguments. If you're concerned about people moving out of Maryland, great. This bill keeps their fee, I believe, at $10 if you're a Marylander. So maybe we can bring some of those hunters back if we want them to live here. And I'd love more Marylanders from all communities, including the hunting community. We have a broad issue, and I hate to step on my old stomping ground, but we have a broad issue when it comes to fees in this state, which is they are not covering the cost of the programs. And so the general fund has been subsidizing that. And so the departments and a number of our colleagues came in this year with bills to try to make sure the fees can cover the various costs of the programs and help us in other ways. So the sponsor of this bill, who I'm not sure is a great lover of fee increases, came in with a fee increase. I want to make sure people understand that. This bill was introduced as a fee increase from $25 up. Now, yes, we did increase it higher, but I want to make sure everyone understands in this room that this sponsor came in with a fee increase bill. And I hope you all keep that in mind as you continue with the great rhetoric I've seen on the floor and on Twitter and on X, and on other aspects of social media. We got a lot of testimony in the committee that people thought that this was something that the market could bear, that we would still get those hunters in here to hunt Sika deer, which, as my hunting colleague noted, and I am not a hunter, so I appreciate my colleague from Anne Arundel County providing information, they are largely on the Eastern Shore in this region. And you have to travel pretty far, actually, to find them elsewhere. So what's someone going to do? Pay a slightly higher fee or pay for gas, hotel, all the other things you need to do to go even further? So we feel pretty comfortable with this. And I do want to thank my friend from the Eastern Shore on this side of the room for his concern with the agriculture community. We're concerned about it also. We spend a lot of time in the Environment and Transportation Committee talking about agriculture and thinking about agriculture, including members from parts of the state where you wouldn't think that's a top concern. But we spend a lot of time working on these bills to try to put them in a shape that does not harm agriculture in our state. And I know we all share that goal here. So I hope you'll join me in voting green on this relatively modest fee increase brought to us by the good gentleman from Cecil County.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Southern Maryland. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Southern Maryland.
Thank you, Madam
Back
Speaker.
row.
I was just on the Google machine, and I'm looking up, and it doesn't appear that this species of deer are really outside of Dorchester County. So would the floor leader mind asking a quick question and addressing that? As far as the state of Maryland, it doesn't look like...
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good morning. Just a quick Google search. I'm looking up, it doesn't look like this species of deer is really outside of Dorchester County. So my questions for you is, does the Dorchester County delegation support this?
Thank you to the gentleman for the question. The delegation did not come in with a position, but it's not a delegation bill.
Well, it only affects one area of the entire state of Maryland by how, the information that I have. So if the delegation, is there a delegation chair for Dorchester County? Would they be willing to answer a question? Delegation chair for Dorchester County, pre-realize. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair.
This the Dorchester County delegation, you're the chair. Do you support this, and do you plan on voting for this this bill?
All three of us that represent Dorchester County will be voting no on this bill.
Okay, based on that information, Madam Speaker, I plan on voting no with the long-standing history of in the General Assembly of local courtesy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Yes. Gentleman from Eastern Shore. Go ahead.
It also caught my attention that the Maryland grain producers supported this bill. I actually just called them. They no longer are supporting this bill. They had originally thought that the fee increases could be used for crop damage abatement and for venison donation. DNR was against that, so they are no longer supporting this bill either.
Gentleman from the shore. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. All right, so I was going to make the point that so Sitka deer are they're in Southern Caroline County, Dorchester County, a bit of Wicomico County, and then there's also some Sitka deer in Worcester County on Assateague Island. And I believe that all of our representation in those locations are opposed to this bill. And I just want to make one more point too, that there's a lot of programs in our state where the users of those programs aren't paying 100% of the cost of the program. In fact, many cases, I know that there's one around the DC metro area that's only 13%. And so I appreciate certainly the consistency in that we're concerned about 100% of that the users are paying for these programs. But I also want to recognize that we're not completely consistent across state government. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, let me go ahead and, well, go ahead. You got to acknowledge
Yeah,
me
let me
first.
recognize you. General from Eastern Shore, Dorchester.
So just to close the loop here, I am the third member of the Dorchester delegation. While I know the bill is going to pass, but let me share this part with you, that the entire interim, we've had a farmer specifically on Route 50 that used to be a county councilwoman, and she was begging, pleading, priding to figure out what can be done. So I reached out to DNR secretary. I said, can you help us? We came down, looked at it in the midnight hour to figure out the issue, because she's losing thousands and thousands of dollars on her property. The reason I'm bringing that up is because the response from the secretary was, bring in some hunters, bring them in so they can kill all of the deer. Well, at the same time, that's sometimes not even realistic, because they're chewing up the crops and they're gone. So this is a financial impact on our citizens. And then the other part is, I hope that this fee, which I know is going to pass, is a way to compensate or to figure out another method to address the crops that are being damaged. These individuals that have these farms and they're being damaged, they personally have no other income to figure it out of where to get the money to make the restoration happen. So to that end, I'm obviously going to vote against the bill. I understand the fees are necessary on some things, but at least let's put it back into the inner workings and the pockets of those who are really being harmed. And I hope the secretary understands that just bringing out hunters from, and they usually come from other states, to come over and just kill all these deers is not always the answer. And the last thing I'll say on it is that my family also has property right there on the Delaware line, and we have hunters that come out. They're all from out of state. So to talk about that this little $10 increase for in-state is not the ones who are really harming or being harmed by it. It's the ones who, you know, have the land in the state of Maryland, but we're utilizing the benefit from the individuals who are hunters coming out of Delaware, coming out of Pennsylvania. Yes, they make it a weekend, but at the same time, that's the revenue on the Eastern Shore. So thank you, Madam Speaker, and that concludes the Dorchester delegation's problem against this bill.
Is there any further debate? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 97 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 497, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 552, Vehicle Laws, Automated Enforcement Citations and Notices, Mailing Addresses.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 552, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Recognizing the gentleman from
Thank you,
Baltimore
Madam
County.
Speaker. I have a vote change for House Bill 437 to yay.
Any other vote changes? Calendar of third reading, House Bill number 22. Clerk, read the first bill.
House Bill 366, Restrictions on Use, Solar Collector Systems, Alteration.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 100 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 366, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 624, Next Generation Scholars of Maryland Program, Program Administrator, Alterations.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 624, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 628, Health Occupations, Clinical Marriage and Family Therapists, Reciprocal Licensure Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 628, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 678, Public Higher Education, Communities of Interest, Targeted Recruitment and Outreach Efforts.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 114 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 678, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 705, Real Property, Cooperative Housing Corporations, Condominiums and Homeowners Associations, Virtual Meetings.
is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 705, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 755, State Board of Social Work Examiners Board Membership and Certified Social Worker Licenses.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 755, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 756, General Provision, State Flag, Casket of an Eligible Decedent.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 756, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 23. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 457, Environment, Synthetic Turf, Chain of Custody.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 457, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 506, Sexual Harassment Prevention Training, Morgan State University and St. Mary's College of Maryland, training format.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 506, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 561, Tree Expert Licenses, Application and Renewal Fee Alterations and Insurance Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you. Would the floor leader rise for a question, please?
The floor there. Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you. Is this another fee increase?
No, Delegate.
Can you tell us what it does? It says
This
fee
bill
alteration.
requires workman's compensation insurance for those who have tree expert licenses, and reminds us that those who are sole proprietors do not need workman's comp.
So the title renewal fee alterations is not in the bill?
It says tree expert license. Yes, I'm sorry.
So it doesn't have a renewal fee alteration?
So the fees, I'm sorry. Let me turn this for you. Yes, so the fees cannot, there's a maximum, a cap on the fees. So there are fees that I think they're start at 45, so on and so forth, but the bill states it can't go above that. So if you decide to say that you want to charge $46 for a certain licensing renewal, you couldn't do that because there's a certain cap at 45.
So what is the current fee, do you know?
Right here. My apologies. It's only to cover the costs of them doing the work.
The fee, I'm sorry, the fee alteration in the bill caps the department being able to raise the fee to 45?
So, for instance, an applicant for an initial or renewal tree expert license must pay to DNR a fee set by the department in regulation in the amount not to exceed the cost of processing the application. Under current regulations, the initial license fee is $30 and the biannual renewal is $20.
Okay, and is this, while I appreciate the fact that the bill is putting guardrails around the fee, is the fee going into the general fund, or is it going to be put in a more of a lockbox kind of fund?
Special fund.
It is special funded, and it will be
For this particular program.
for this particular program?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 114 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 561, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 562, Special Chesapeake Bay and Coastal Sport Fishing License, Non-Residence License Fee.
Is on third reading and final passage.
Madam
Is there
Speaker.
any debate? Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a quick question for the floor leader, if I could, please.
Hello.
Floor leader.
Good morning. So what activities does this apply to?
This is a fee increase, I will say that right now, for only non-residents, for those poor souls who do not live in the state of Maryland. And it is a fee for a boat. So it's a boat license, and the fee goes to the Fisheries Research and Development Fund to be used for specified purposes related to recreational fishing.
So this is any fish you would catch with like a line, not a shellfish, not a crayfish, not a jellyfish, any fish. So a lot of people come to our state. It's an issue of tourism, bringing people in. So any fisher is now going from out of state is now going to have to pay this increased fee. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, it's any fish that you can catch off of a boat.
Okay. All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 105 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 562, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 569, Higher Education, Credit Eligibility and Transfer of Credits, English as a Second Language Courses, Credit for All Language Learning, CALL Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 569, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 576, Mental Health, Emergency Evaluation and Involuntary Admission Procedures and Assisted Outpatient Treatment Programs.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 576, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 607, Community Colleges, Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 607, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. That ends the work at the desk. Gentlemen.
Just a quick vote change. House Bill 678 to green.
Okay.
Madam Speaker,
Go ahead.
vote change for House Bill 506 to green.
Any other vote changes?
Madam
Lady
Speaker.
from Charles.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote in the green, House Bill 552.
Gentleman from Washington County.
Yea to nay on House Bill 576. Thank you.
Any other vote changes? Okay. Committee announcements. Appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The full committee will not meet. Listen for subcommittee announcements.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House Judiciary Committee will be meeting at 1 o'clock today.
Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Environment and Transportation Committee will take up fee increases at 1 p.m. in the committee room.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will meet at 1 p.m. for bill hearings.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Economic Matters will have bill hearings starting at 1 p.m. and we will have a subcommittee chairs meeting at 11:45. Again, that is 11:45.
Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning. The Health and Government Operations Committee will have bill hearings at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Chair Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I forgot to mention we'll have a voting session after bill hearings today.
Any subcommittee announcements? Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Education and Economic Development Subcommittee of Appropriations will be meeting at 1 p.m. in the Appropriations hearing room, and we'll have a voting session immediately thereafter.
Public Safety.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Public Safety and Administration Subcommittee will meet in the Baltimore City Delegation Room at 1 p.m.
Election Law.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Election Law Subcommittee of the Ways and Means Committee will meet at 11:30 a.m. virtually.
Health, Occupation, and Long-Term Care.
We'll meet at 11:10 virtually.
Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health and Social Services Subcommittee on Appropriations will be meeting at 1:30 today in the Prince George's County Delegation Room. Thank you.
Motor Vehicle and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Motor Vehicles and Transportation Subcommittee will be meeting today on Zoom after bill hearings.
Any other subcommittees? Okay. Any delegation announcements? Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Baltimore City House Delegation will be meeting at 8:30 tomorrow via Zoom. U.S. Senator Van Hollen will be our special guest.
Okay. Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Anne Arundel County Delegation will be meeting at 8:15 tomorrow morning on Zoom, 8:15.
Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Prince George's County Delegation will meet at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning via Zoom.
Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Eastern Shore Delegation will have its next to the last delegation meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. via Zoom.
Southern Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Southern Maryland delegation will meet tomorrow via Zoom at 9 a.m. with college presidents.
Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Baltimore County Delegation will meet virtually at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We'll have a guest, former House Member Brooke Learman, now the Comptroller.
Okay, any other? Oh, yes. Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Montgomery County House Delegation will meet at 9 a.m. on Zoom tomorrow for a short meeting, but our local Economic Development Committee will be meeting immediately afterwards.
Charles.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Tonight is Southern Maryland night.
Southern Maryland.
At the Graduate Hotel from 7 to 9, please join us. Thank you.
Hartford, gentleman from Hartford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, today is Rare Disease Day. Rare Disease Day is an annual observation held on the last day of February, aimed at raising awareness about rare disease and their impact on patients' lives. The day seeks to increase public knowledge, promote advocacy, and stimulate research efforts on rare diseases. Despite their individual rarity, rare diseases collectively affect a significant portion of the population, with thousands of different rare diseases affecting millions of people worldwide. These conditions are often chronic, such as immune deficiencies, progressive, debilitating, and life-threatening. Many are poorly understood and lack effective treatments, underscoring the importance of research and development in this area. Rare Disease Day brings together patients, families, healthcare professionals, researchers, policymakers, and the general public through various events and activities. These include educational programs, community events, online campaigns, and initiatives that aim to improve access to treatment and healthcare services, enhance scientific knowledge, and foster a sense of solidarity among the rare disease community. The day has grown into a global movement with participation in over 100 countries around the world, helping to build an international network of supporters and advocates to push for advancements in care and treatment for those affected by rare diseases. So in your travels today, folks, please remember it's Rare Disease Day. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from where?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
What is your purpose of getting up? We're not on personal guests here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay. All right. You still on delegation? And caucus announcement. Republican caucus? Nothing? Okay. Democratic caucus, Chair? Nothing? At least you're both equal doing that, so. All right. Black History Moment with delegate representing Baltimore City.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning, colleagues. On January 1st, 45 BC, Julius Caesar reformed the Roman calendar in a stroke of divine foresight. He predicted that late in the 20th century, black folk would finally get an entire month designated to celebrate our history, but that it would be the shortest month of the year. So he created the leap year and added an extra day once every 4 years to the month of February and decreed it bonus Black History Month Day. So it is my honor to bring you these bonus Black history facts. So listen up, colleagues, because you won't get this on the next go-round unless you win your races in 26. All right. In our great state, it wasn't until almost 20 years after the 14th Amendment was ratified that a black lawyer was admitted to the Maryland State Bar. Until then, state law explicitly prohibited black people from the practice of law. The first attempt at admission was blocked by an 1877 opinion of the Supreme Court of Maryland, which ruled that practicing law was not a protected right under the 14th Amendment. In 1884, the court finally reversed that decision. And in 1885, Everett J. Waring applied and became the first black lawyer admitted to the Maryland State Bar. Waring went on to become the first black lawyer to argue before the Supreme Court of the United States. Today, he is the co-namesake of the Howard County Black Bar Association, the Waring Mitchell Law Society, along with Juanita Jackson Mitchell, who was one of the first 2 black women to graduate from the University of Maryland School of Law and to be admitted to the Maryland Bar in 1950. In 1897, William Ashby Hawkins was admitted to the State Bar. 20 years later, he went on to win the landmark Supreme Court case of Buchanan v. Worley, where the court ruled that a city ordinance that barred the sale of real property to black people violated the 14th Amendment. Despite reaching the apex of appellate practice, Hawkins and all black Maryland lawyers were still being denied membership to the Maryland State Bar Association and the Bar Association of Baltimore City. And so they created their own. The Monumental City Bar Association, and eventually made Hawkins president of the group. Monumental was incorporated in 1935, and holding the position of secretary at that time was none other than the keeper of Lawyers Mall, our first black Supreme Court justice, Mr. Civil Rights himself, the Honorable Thurgood Marshall. Maryland's first black lawyers were also our state's first black legislators. In 1887, T. Arrington Thompson became the first black elected official in Maryland when he became an alderman right here in Annapolis. And in 1890, Harry Scythe Cummings, who was our state's third black lawyer, became the first Baltimore City councilman. Eventually, black lawyers became our state's first black judges. In 1971, the Honorable Judge J. Franklin Bourne became one of 7 judges who formed the newly established District Court of Maryland in Prince George's County. Judge Bourne died tragically a year later, but 5 years after his death, his name would be enshrined forevermore when black lawyers in Prince George's County established the J. Franklin Bourne Bar Association. In 1966, the Honorable George L. Russell, Jr. became the first black circuit court judge in Maryland in Baltimore City. Judge Russell went on to become the first black president of the Maryland Bar Association and founded Harbor Bank, one of the largest minority-owned banks in the country to this very day. Prior to his time as a jurist, Judge Russell practiced with 4 other dynamic giants of black lawyers, including Milton Allen, Baltimore's first black state's attorney, and another future judge who I'll come back to. As they plotted their practice, one of their sons learned at the feet of the masters by hanging around their office and soaking up all of their legal acumen. He followed their footsteps, attended University of Maryland Law School, where he founded the first chapter of the Black Law Students Association. And then he was admitted to the Maryland Bar. In his first case, he successfully defended the First Amendment rights of the Black Panther Party. He quickly gained notoriety as an indomitable criminal defense attorney who wowed juries and established the best state court trial success rate in Maryland, which stands today at 90%. On the Baltimore City Circuit Court, where he sat for 3 years. He went back into private practice, took up civil litigation, and represented Fortune 500 companies and earned settlements and verdicts to the tune of millions of dollars for plaintiffs. In 1999, he successfully defended famed boxing promoter Don King from federal fraud charges. In 2015, he represented the family of Freddie Gray, garnering a $6.4 million settlement for Gray's family for his death. This legendary black Maryland lawyer is no stranger to this body, as he has testified on this campus for more than 40 years. He is also no stranger to me, because he is my law partner, my senior law partner, my mentor, and one of my dearest friends. He is the one and only Cherry Hill native from District 46, Judge William H. Billy Murphy, Jr. And it is my pleasure to share that Mr. Murphy has joined us in the gallery. Please join me in honoring his legacy. I actually didn't even tell him I was doing this, so he had no idea. So in closing, today as you look across this body, you will find black lawyers throughout this chamber. We are truly our ancestors' wildest dreams. Black lawyers are black history. We are the vanguard who ferociously marshal justice and equity in a world that remains so unjust in so many ways. Today, I honor the struggle and the sacrifice of our predecessors, and I celebrate the present and future impact that we continue to make in every aspect of our society for black people and all people. And with that, I am Delegate Malcolm P. Ruff, Esquire. And in the words of the good delegate from Prince George's County who kicked us off on February the 1st, this has been your Black History Moment.
Okay. Any personal or guest announcement? Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use delegates' names?
Permission granted.
On behalf of Delegates Cardin and Pasteur and myself, I'm pleased to introduce today's Doctor of the Day, Dr. Dan Morheim. Dan served in the House of Delegates for 24 years, and he was the longest-serving physician in the history of the Maryland General Assembly. As an ER doctor, he was on the front lines of healthcare, and he brought that experience to policy. He was a leader in many areas, including healthcare, environment, and procurement reform. Dan continues to contribute by serving on several state commissions. He's on the faculty of 2 universities, and he's an author. We've known each other for 30 years, so please join me in welcoming Delegate Dan Morheim.
Gentlelady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, join me in welcoming, hopefully they're still here, members of the Prince George's County Democratic Central Committee who are here with us in the back gallery today, just joining us and watching our legislative process. Thank you.
Gentlelady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to recognize 2 individuals up in the podium. One of them, which is my Chief of Staff here visiting, Jason Nunez, and Juliana Aiko Nunez, who is a beautiful 4th grader who resides in Montgomery County, and she's interested in becoming an artist and owning an art gallery, and she'll be here testifying on a bill that she proffered forward on HB 197 motor vehicles school seatbelts. So watch out for the future artist, Juliana Nunez.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Earlier today, but they had to leave for a tour, Mr. Jeremiah Thomas, a teacher at Wall Chapel Elementary, had 5th graders here. He has a club called I Am a Gentleman's Mentoring Club, and this is about citizenship, respect, and professionalism. They're going to be walking around today. I hope you give them a warm welcome to those students that were up in the gallery and say hi to them, and thank you for doing this as a community service. Thank you.
Gentleman from Hartford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let's try this one more time. Permission to use a delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, today is the first ever Maryland Student Legislature Shadow Day. The Maryland Student Legislature engages in undergraduate students in a semester-long simulation of the Maryland General Assembly. 25 students are here today in Annapolis to shadow members of the House. On behalf of Shadow Day co-host Delegate Plakovich-Carr and myself, please join us in welcoming these students who are in the gallery.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Eastern Shore mayors and elected officials are going to be in room 150 today after session, and look forward to seeing some of our colleagues to visit and share with our elected officials locally. Thank you.
Any other personal or guest announcements? Seeing none. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will call the roll. There being 137 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stands adjourned until Friday, March 1 at 11 a.m., legislative date February 26.